It's no secret that since the release of Batman v Superman in 2016, the heads at Warner Bros. Have gradually pivoted away from Zack Snyder's singular creative vision for the DCEU. A decision, I might add, that very, very clearly blew up in their face, and are less concerned with continuity and the connective tissue of their universe, and more so telling great individual stories with these characters. With the introduction of the multiverse, DC and Warner Bros. Have doubled down on their plans for less interconnectivity, and with a get-out-of-jail-free card in Flashpoint, they can justify these multiple timelines by relegating them to multiple Earths, even having multiple versions of the same characters. The DCEU as we knew it now incorporates so much more than just the Snyderverse and its offshoots. All of this is to say that an intricately connected timeline where each film furthers the story of the previous might have been an initial goal of DC and Warner Bros. When they first began with 2013's Man of Steel, but clearly isn't a priority for them now. However, while the DCEU might be a universe that isn't interested in vapid expository callbacks, references, and Easter eggs that link their films together, there's no denying that the universe, or rather the filmmakers involved with the universe, are interested in connecting their films thematically. If they can carry through an idea or motif that can be molded and addressed as it pertains to each of their heroes, it might arguably carry more weight and artistically define the DCEU's identity. And sure, not every film necessarily chooses to do so, but there is excitement, appeal, and significance in acknowledging what's come before in a way that brings characters and thematic pursuits full circle. Obviously, much of this relies on the script, but there's an equally as effective and compelling way to link these films without regurgitating surface-level acknowledgments. A far more brilliant and subtler way that elicits an immediate emotional response from the audience. A music cue. However, not for a specific character, but rather an idea. The beautiful lie. But you want to know what else is a beautiful lie? The belief that you are safe. Or rather, your personal information is safe while you surf the web without protection. Don't ever go in without protection. That's just a general life lesson. But you don't have to worry about that anymore with the sponsor of this video, ExpressVPN. Whenever you're connected to an unencrypted internet connection on your laptop or mobile devices, other people can get access to your internet traffic. But when you use a VPN like ExpressVPN, it securely tethers you and your device to the internet. This prevents hackers, creeps, and scumbags like Joss Whedon from getting access to your passwords or personal information, along with your internet service provider from selling your data. It also just so happens to allow you to access the content you love from anywhere in the world without restrictions. So if you want to hop on the UK or Canadian Netflix and watch any of the available DC movies, SpongeBob, Modern Family, whatever, you can do that. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by CNET, Forbes, Tech Radar, the New York Times, BBC, and so many others, which basically means you can't go wrong with ExpressVPN. They're the best. So find out how you can get 3 months free by clicking the link in the description down below or following this URL right here, expressvpn.com/filmspeak. All right, let's hunker down and talk about some DC movies. I think it's pretty universally accepted now to stand here and proclaim that BVS Ultimate is a truly great superhero epic that seeks to engage not only with our world, but the very pillars that humanize these titans of pop culture. BVS is more so a film about Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne, and Diana Prince, and how their costumed alter egos are a product of their beliefs, placing them in real, moral, ideological, and theological dilemmas, and fuck man, is it just compelling. Almost 5 years later, and I am honestly still in awe of the fact that Warner Brothers greenlit such an audacious venture for their highly anticipated Fight Night flick. And by the looks of the theatrical edition in the train wreck that followed, so were they. But back to the matter at hand, Batman v Superman opens preaching a core idea of the beautiful lie. Don't worry, we'll get to exactly what that means in a moment, but not only is this conveyed through Bruce's voiceover, but it's represented in Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL's haunting piano melody.
There was a time above, a time before. There were perfect things, diamond absolutes. Things fall, things on earth, and what falls is fallen.
Here, both Snyder and the composers are able to do something arguably no other Batman story had ever accomplished before: deliver the true, unaltered, unfiltered, grim reality of Bruce Wayne's origin story. Outside of maybe Spider-Man, no other comic book hero has such a universally recognized origin story as Batman. Wealthy billionaires gunned down in an alleyway in front of their son, sparking a lifelong crusade against crime. Given how many times we've seen Thomas and Martha's demise, you would think Snyder's inclusion of it in BVS would be redundant, especially since the film focuses on an older, more grizzled Batman, and an origin seems unnecessary. However, Snyder's execution of the Wayne murder is arguably the most comic accurate and compelling interpretation of the Batman origin ever put to film, and it's because he acknowledges that Bruce's parents died for no reason at all. Bruce's torment didn't come out of the hands of some secret society, elite mobster, or future clown prince of crime that the narrative would circle back to. They were murdered in cold blood, and the world didn't blink an eye. The beautiful lie Bruce had been fed up until that moment of a time above, a time before, perfect things, diamond absolutes, shattered before his very eyes. During his parents' funeral, young Bruce runs away in tears, falling down a forgotten well into a hidden cave below. As Bruce stands, we get the familiar and iconic image of him surrounded by a swarm of bats, which will serve as inspiration for his future crime-fighting persona. However, in Snyder's version, things begin to dip into the surreal, as Bruce begins to hover in the air along with the bats, floating up towards the light at the top of the well, accompanied by voiceover from Ben Affleck's older Bruce Wayne, describing the scene as a dream he used to have, describing the light above the dark hole as a beautiful lie, the beautiful lie being the light of justice. Bruce not only lost his innocence that day, but any hope at happiness or prosperity was replaced with newfound purpose, to balance the scales of justice using the same violent methods as his opponents. Bruce proclaims himself to be fallen, unable to figuratively escape the darkness of the pit he fell into as a child. To him, the vision of being a shining beacon of hope is pure bullshit, and after 20 years of fighting crime in Gotham, with law enforcement, judicial, and penal systems so heavily embedded with systemic corruption, he has no reason to believe in the kindness of monsters, such as Superman. As Bruce reveals to Superman, and by extension the audience, his dark truth taught to him by his parents,
Dying in the gutter for no reason at all. They taught me the world only makes sense if you force it to.
He must eradicate violence with violence. As Batman, Bruce hunts criminals night after night because of his unresolved rage and psychological torment for being helpless to prevent his parents' murder. The arrival of the Superman brought about mass amounts of loss and destruction, which Bruce experienced firsthand. From his perspective, seeing this fraud,
You're a fraud!
posing as a symbol of peace, hope, and justice, threw his world into unlawful chaos and needed to be dealt with. Bruce is convinced that killing the innocent alien known as Clark Kent is what's needed in order to restore balance to the world. However, after hearing
Martha!
Bruce realizes Superman has humanity. He's not just a creature, he's a man. He's an alien, but in a lot of ways, he's more human than Bruce is. He's embraced all the good parts of the human race, and so Bruce is able to see that Clark is the thing he is not. We learn that the beautiful lie is not light equals justice, but rather the jaded truth that Bruce thought to be absolute is untrue. In both the opening of the film and the epiphany, this idea of the beautiful lie is given life by Zimmer and Junkie XL's music, bringing Bruce's trauma full circle. It's upon that epiphany and Clark's death that Bruce finds himself inspired by the light of not only Superman, but Wonder Woman as well, who makes the decision to put the world ahead of her personal feelings in order to once again save humanity. He dedicates his life to preserving the symbol and light of Superman. While certainly tailored to Batman in BVS, Zimmer's motif does not represent the character, but rather the idea of truth, lies, and the central credo of the DCEU, which is why when it resurfaces in an equally compelling moment in Wonder Woman 1984, the emotional weight of Diana's speech is monumental, felt on a deep, visceral level that can only be conveyed through music.
I used to want to save the world, to end war and bring peace to mankind. But then I glimpsed the darkness that lives within their light, and learned that inside every one of them, there will always be both. A choice each must make for themselves, something no hero will ever defeat. And now I know that only love can truly save the world.
In 2017's Wonder Woman, Diana learned the dark truth that there wasn't some almighty puppet master controlling the wants and desires of man. As she states in the film's final voiceover, inside each person is darkness and light. Sometimes that very darkness lurks within the light of their intentions, sparking
the fever, the rage, the feeling of powerlessness that turns good men cruel.
However, she also comes to realize the remarkable lengths humanity will go to for love, and after seeing both the good and bad, she understands that only love and compassion are capable of saving the world, thus igniting her quest to carry that ideal with her as she crusades against those who seek to eradicate the world of humanity's warmth. She vows to live her life in the shadows, careful not to draw attention to herself, but acting as a watchful guardian and beacon of hope. It's therefore fitting that her greatest adversary in the sequel weaponizes these notions to appeal to mankind's most personal desires. With the passage of time, those who knew the real Diana, those she considered close friends and loved ones, slowly passed away, leaving her in complete isolation. Her mission was never going to be an easy one, and continuing to make personal attachments would only further the grief, pain, and loss she'd been stewing in for all these years. When Steve Trevor died, she lost more than the bond they shared. She lost her link to humanity and the way in which Steve connected with it, and couldn't bring herself to do that again, leading to her reclusive lifestyle. In Wonder Woman 1984, we see the toll this lifestyle has taken on her, and while a protector of humanity, she appears out of touch with the very people she serves. Diana struggles with her desire for normalcy and being the hero the world needs. Her longing for companionship leads to her dwelling on the love of her life, eventually amounting to her fateful wish on the Dreamstone for his return. For if love can truly save the world, shouldn't she be afforded the love she was deprived of back in World War I? Naturally, Steve returns, and the two endure a brief honeymoon phase before coming to terms with the reality of not only her wish, but the wishes of thousands made possible by Maxwell Lord. It's fairly obvious why Patty Jenkins chose to set Wonder Woman 1984 in the 80s. The decade was a time of greed, excess, instant gratification, and selfishness, where the focus was on the wants and desires of the individual at the expense of practically everyone else. Love equals yes, and in the film, quite literally granting your every wish. Through her brief time with Steve, Diana rediscovers her link to humanity, and that the excessive self-love at the expense of your neighbor isn't love that will heal the world. It's the collective apathy and selfishness that led to the rise of Maxwell Lord and his false promises. When we overindulge in our selfish desires, we lose that which makes us human. The unnatural return of Steve not only came at the cost of Diana's powers, but it stripped an innocent man of his body and the world of their protector. It's only once Steve reminds Diana of his personal sacrifice and the necessitation of selflessness that Diana willingly renounces her wish, giving up the only thing her heart desired for the betterment of humanity. If an Amazonian goddess can sacrifice her most personal desires, then we all can too. For humanity to save itself, it has to embrace selflessness. Now that idea is all well and good, but how does Diana appeal to the emotions of humanity? It is here where we reach, without question, the most compelling and emotional sequence in Wonder Woman 1984, which largely benefits from the use of Zimmer and Junkie XL's Beautiful Lie theme. During the climax, Diana is physically overpowered by Maxwell Lord, who continues to suck the life out of humanity by granting their wishes and taking that which they value. It's during this barrage of wishes that Lord tries to appeal to Diana's own self-interests, cackling,
"You can have it all! You just have to want it!"
It's here that Diana dismantles the beautiful lie Lord has been feeding not only the world, but himself as well. She uses not her fists, but the lasso of truth to show the world the destruction their wishes are causing, retorting with such a powerful plea for empathy and, well, the truth.
I've never wanted anything more. But he's gone. And that's the truth.
It's during this speech that Beautiful Lie begins to play, and Patty Jenkins couldn't have chosen a more fitting piece of music to accompany such powerful words. Not only does it call back to the cinematic history of the DCEU, but it perfectly ties into the thematic significance of the Beautiful Lie from Batman vs. Superman. In Wonder Woman 1984, Diana advocates for the truth, for humanity to be the hero of their own narrative and renounce their wish in order to save the world, just as Bruce in BVS had to accept that the truth he fed himself to justify killing Superman was also a lie. It wasn't until he learned of Clark's true humanity that he renounced his wish to kill him. By indulging his inner demons, he's not eradicating Gotham of crime, the world of a killer alien, or even confronting his deep personal trauma. It's costing him his humanity, and this one musical cue immediately links these core ideas of the DCEU. Years before the events of BVS, Diana understood firsthand what it's like to suffer and make sacrifices. She uses her lesson as an example for humanity to be better, pleading,
You're not the only one who has suffered. Who wants more? Who wants them back? Who doesn't want to be afraid anymore? Or alone?
Stop! Cut the signal! Stop!
Or frightened? Or powerless? Because you're not the only one who imagined a world where everything was different.
In this moment, as Diana looks directly into the camera and delivers this address, we know she's not only asking the audience to reflect on themselves, but there's this sense that she's speaking to all the members of the DCEU, specifically the Justice League, because of the inclusion of this remarkable theme. We feel Arthur's pain of being abandoned by his mother at a young age and not feeling as though he belongs in the world of man or Atlantis. Barry's loss of his mother and concern for his imprisoned and wrongly accused father and his inability to do anything about it. Billy being abandoned by his biological mother, searching for years to find her only to be met with rejection. Victor coming close to death only to be revived by technology that transformed him into a cybernetic being, leaving him alienated and detached from the rest of humanity due to complications with his new form. Clark, who was forced to compartmentalize who he truly was, out of fear that he wouldn't be accepted by the people of Earth, leading to the tragic loss of Pa Kent. And of course, Bruce, who's never been able to resolve the trauma of his childhood. Wielding the lasso of truth, Diana reaches out beyond the confines of her film to the larger DCEU to offer up selfless love, compassion, and the truth. This connection also makes her on-screen discovery of the Justice League in Batman vs. Superman carry more weight as she assists Bruce in aiding these struggling metahumans. Yeah, you probably could make vague connections based on dialogue alone, but the integration of Beautiful Lie immediately indicates this is a moment that goes far beyond the immediate crisis at hand. This is a moment that binds DC's cinematic universe together. In Wonder Woman 1984, Diana confronts the reality of a beautiful lie and is able to save the world with the power of truth and selflessness. In Batman vs. Superman, Bruce reconciles with a beautiful lie in order to reconnect with humanity, staying his hand from killing Superman, ensuring, unbeknownst to him at the time, the last son of Krypton commits the ultimate selfless act out of love for Lois and the people of Earth, saving them from certain death. One can only assume that with the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League, this thematic pursuit will continue as both Diana and Bruce, guided by the truth, will not only guide our scattered heroes to the light of truth, but will have to guide a resurrected Superman consumed by lies back towards the light. The DCEU isn't connected by Easter eggs or guest appearances. It's connected by an idea, personified through music. One beautiful lie. Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out this video. This is a topic I've wanted to cover for a while. I love the DC movies, and I love Zimmer and Tom Holkenborg, Junkie XL's score for these films, and can't wait to see what Junkie does for Zack Snyder's Justice League and the Beautiful Lie theme. It's one of the greatest superhero themes of all time. It's so good, and the way the DC universe uses it is nothing short of genius. And so hopefully I was able to offer some interesting insight here on a very, saturated topic. But be sure to jump down in the comment section and let me know what your favorite DCEU score is. You got a lot of great ones to choose from, and I look forward to reading those comments and engaging with you in that conversation. If you haven't done so already, be sure to like this video, share with your DC-loving friends, and subscribe to the FilmSpeak channel so you don't miss out on more video essays, movie reviews, television talk, interviews, all that good stuff. We like to say the conversation continues after the credits, and of course, we'd love to have you be a part of that conversation, so consider subscribing to the channel. If you've been paying attention to the community tab, you'll know that March is actually shaping up to be a pretty big month for us. A lot of deep dives, a lot of video essays, and that's continuing right along with next week, which is diving into Kong Skull Island, which is going to be very exciting. I think you all are going to really dig that one. But listen, until then, if you want to give me a follow on Twitter, you can hit me up at Griff Schiller. All right, guys, thanks so much for checking out this video. Be sure to jump down in the comment section, engage with me and all that good stuff. And I will catch you next time. Take care.